Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amina. 2021, I almost forgot what year it is. 2021 has been such a challenging year for so many of us. Continuing on from 2020, living in the new normal, social distancing, like travel restrictions, there's so many things. Health being at the top of our minds, and it's quite stressful, and it's been sort of a tough year for many of us. And I thought I would talk through 10 lessons, 10 things that I've learned from this year, and 10 things that this year has taught me or reminded me about, and things that I want to kind of take forward into next year and beyond. And hopefully these are some things that you've also thought about, or some things that you may want to think about going forward into the new year 2022. If you are new here, I'd love for you to subscribe to see more from me. My name is Amina. I generally create content surrounding productivity, academia, and some motherhood as well. So if you want to see that kind of thing, then join the channel to see more from me. So the first lesson I've learned is saying no is more valuable to your peace than saying yes. And this has been a really important lesson for me to learn this year, especially as I've just had my second child, and there are opportunities that come up, there are people that want to meet up, and people that want to do things, and things that I want to do, and sometimes I have to tell myself and remind myself that saying no is the more healthier option for me, both physically, mentally, and also just realistically. And I think it's important for us sometimes to remember that an opportunity missed is not the final opportunity. It doesn't mean that another opportunity won't arise. It doesn't mean that a better opportunity won't arise. In fact, I've found, and this is something that I'm sure we can all contest to, when we reject an opportunity, when we reject something, typically something better is always around the corner. And that's something that I want to remember going into 2022. The second is to control the controllables. And this sounds like a bit of a weird one, but there are things that we can control and there are things that we just cannot control, and we just have to do our best in the moment. For example, I'm sitting here right now. I have sent my first child off to playgroup with my husband, and that is something that I can control. I can control him not being here. Whereas my youngest child, the one that's 2 months old, she needs me and she could cry at any moment. I can't control that. And so I've controlled the controllables. So that is something that I've done. I've made sure that I've got the space and I've got the ability to film, but there's some things that I can't control, and if she were to wake up right now, I would just have to deal with that situation and come back to film later. And so this is, I'm giving you an example of something that it's on my mind right now, but there are certain things in our life that we can control and we can't control, and we have to be able to determine what they are and make sure that we are able to control those things that we can control, and think about ways that we can manipulate things that we can't control into our favor. The third is that it is unproductive to be perfect. This is my biggest lesson. The order, by the way, is not in how important the lesson is, but this is probably going to be number one if I had to order it. It's my biggest lesson of 2021, I would say of this decade even so far. Being perfect is unproductive, and I think I know I am a perfectionist. I know that I'm someone that wants to get things done in the most perfect way. It will take me about 2 hours to search for a color that I like for some presentation that I'm making. Before I've even started the writing, before the content's even on the page, I'm debating as to what color I'm going to use. And this is unproductive. It's so unproductive to be a perfectionist. And I think that's something that I want to make sure that I am taking into next year, especially now that I have limited time, meaning that if I have an hour, I can't spend an hour looking for colors. I need to spend that hour actually creating content that is valuable and that I can use in my work, in my business, and in my creation. So yeah, I'm just remembering that really. Don't be perfect. Don't try to be perfect, because it is so unproductive. The fourth is to turn towards thoughts of appreciation as often as you can and whenever you can. If I think about 5 years ago where I would want to be, I would have only dreamt that I'd be where I am now. I'd only have dreamt that I would have 2 kids, and I would have my own business that's doing really well, and I'd have my own property and all these things. Like I would never have thought I'd be in a situation. Not that I didn't want to work for it, but it's just one of those things where you can't see yourself there until you're actually there. And now that I'm here, I don't necessarily always appreciate it. I think to myself, what's the next thing? What do I want to do next? I never look at where I am now. And I think learning that lesson, that appreciate what you have and think about the time that you wanted what you have now, and try to remind yourself of where you were. And that is a really big lesson to learn. It's something that it keeps you grounded and keeps you mentally sane, I think, as well. The fifth is to protect your time fiercely. And I say fiercely because I mean it. Fiercely protect your time, like you're protecting your child. And time is so valuable. And I don't think we realize it until we don't have it anymore. And if I could go back, let's say 3-4 years from now, and I looked at how much time I just sat around, did nothing, like actually nothing. I wasn't even relaxing. I don't even know what I was doing, but so much time wasted. And I think about what I would do if I had that time now. It's black and white. And I think now that when I have the time, when I have like an hour or two to myself, I will use that fiercely. And I'm not just saying use it to work or to be productive. I'm saying use it to relax. I'm saying use it to put your feet up. Use it to go and get yourself a massage or get yourself a facial, or just chill with your husband, chill with your friends, like whatever it is. Spend that time fiercely doing something that you actually want to do, and with intent. And I always tell my younger siblings, I'm the eldest child, so I always tell them, guys, you will never have as much time as you have now. Like next year, you still have time, but it will never be as much as you have today. And even me now that I have 2 kids, I still have moments of like pockets of time that I still have, but it's nothing compared to what it was when I had 1 child, and it's nothing compared to what it was when I had none. Even though at the time I thought I had no time. But protect your time. If you're out there and you have a lot of spare time and you don't know what to do with it, and you kind of find yourself just browsing, think about 5 years from now. What do you think you would want your younger self to do with that time if you could go forward, and if you end up in a situation where you've lost that time, you've got a full-time job, you've got a family, like what would you do that time that you have now? Think about it, use it productively. The next lesson I've learned is that high self-esteem is not equal to having a big ego. I say this in the sense that I am not someone who promotes myself very often. Even if you follow me on Instagram, you probably don't see me saying, guys, follow my channel, I've got a channel, I've got this, I've got a business. Like, you won't hear me say it that often. Most likely I'm sharing something to do with my son, somewhere that I am in London, somewhere that I've eaten. That's what I never promote myself, and I think that's really bad. I think that's really, it's a shame, and it says something about the society and the culture and what I've kind of told myself that is an appropriate thing to do online. When actually shouting out your accolades, there's a way to do it that is classy. There's a way to do it that isn't just saying, look at me. And I think I've learned this from seeing other people always, I guess, promote themselves in a way that isn't salesy. There's a YouTuber here, I'm sure that you know who she is, V Kativu, and she has been doing amazing things in 2021. Super inspiring, super proud of her. When I look at how she always shouts out about her achievements, I think to myself, like, I never do that. Like, I never sit here and say, oh guys, this has happened to me in my life. Like, I might come back, like I might come 3-4 months down the line and say, oh, by the way, this happened. But I'm not someone who really mentions it, because I feel like I don't want to be that person. But actually, like, I know that people want to see that. I know that it's really important to share those successes, and there is a way to do it that makes it look like you are sharing it being inspiring, as opposed to just sharing for the sake of being loud. So you're gonna see a lot more Amina promoting herself in 2022, but please don't find it annoying, because I feel like it might be, but hopefully it isn't. The 7th lesson that I've learned is that you are what you consume. Now, that's not just consume, orally consume, that's also audibly consume and visually consume. That was a good one. I have realized that this year, because in the past couple of months, I've spent a lot of time, I've got backache right now, I spent a lot of time just like scrolling on my phone, because I'm feeding my child most of the day and night, and I can't really do much. I've just got my phone in my hand, and so I just end up scrolling, and I feel like I don't know how to string a sentence together. I'm actually quite proud of myself for this video, because I've managed to speak, but I don't know, there's words I've forgotten, there are sentences that I don't know how to put together. I don't know how to I can't, like, see, it's gone. I don't know how to, what am I trying to say? There you go. That's what I mean. So I feel like I don't know how to speak anymore. And a lot of it, first, is an element of baby brain, which is where after you're giving birth and you're just in the fog, your hormones, all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine, there's that. But there's also an element of, I haven't actually been consuming content that is feeding my brain in a good way. So I've just been like scrolling on Instagram, or watching some YouTube videos, or listening to podcasts, like not really educational, just kind of chatty podcasts, things like that. So I haven't actually been teaching or like reminding myself of words and phrases, and like, you know, keeping my brain fresh and on check. And so I realized that whatever I consume is what I end up like being. Just being aware that if you want to learn, if you want to be smart, when I say smart, I don't mean like clever or top of the class. I don't mean like top of the class or clever. I mean like if you want to actually be someone who's sharp and remind yourself of what's out there and continually learning and continually trying to, you know, find out new things, then you have to be consuming that kind of content, because scrolling Instagram isn't going to do that for you. That's a lesson that I learned. Number 8 is show up apologetically. And again, this is another one, or it's quite similar to the pride one, you know, kind of promoting yourself unapologetically. Show up unapologetic. So in that sense, what I mean is be there, just be there. And that's enough sometimes. Being there, being present, you know, making a few comments here and there. And I think I picked this up from, I'm part of this accelerator program right now, this business program, and everything's online now, everything's on Zoom. And there's a lot of people that are just silent, that just don't say anything, and that are just in the background. And you get up, you just end up being forgotten about, end up being sort of just pushed to the side. No one really knows who you are. That's just you. By showing up, by just saying something, giving your input, and just being unapologetic about what it is that you want to say, it makes such a difference. You are remembered, people like you, people keep coming back to you, and you are more memorable, and you remember what it is that you said and who it is that you've spoken to. I think it's so important to show up and always be there and be unapologetic about it. So don't just hide in the corner, don't leave your camera off, be there and be there in person. The 9th is that life is but a series of phases, and this is a reminder to myself, because there are certain phases that I've been going through recently with the kids that I'm like, I'm never going to come out of this. Can I return one of them? Things like, you know, teething, I'm talking about kids, things like teething or like growth spurts or feeding or like just whatever it is, terrible twos. These are all phases in our lives. When I gave birth to my daughter 2 months ago, we had a month, or you know, the first 2-3 months of just feeding all day, bad night, and you're just like, this is never going to end. But you remind yourself that it's just a phase. She now sleeps a lot of the night. She sleeps for, you know, some of the day. She's a lot more alert, more of an actual baby than a newborn, and that phase has now gone. And I think it's a reminder to all of us and to myself that life is a lot of phases. If you start a new job and you hate the job in the beginning, but you know that you might enjoy it later, just remind yourself that it's a phase, it's a part of your life that you have to just get through to get to where it is that you want to be, or to get to the better parts. And I think that it's important, even on the flip side, when there's lots of good happening, when there's lots of positive things happening in your life, remember that it is just a phase. This isn't going to be forever. You aren't going to have happy times forever. There might be times when it's not so great, but just remember that that is a phase, and you will get out of that phase and you'll get into the next phase. How many times did I say phase in the past 2 minutes? Remember that everything is a phase. I don't mind. And I think this has helped me so much. I went to an appointment the other day with my health visitor. I think she said something like, don't worry, it won't take very long to get over her like crying and, you know, the newborn stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's just a phase. And she was just looking at me like, okay, like she's quite impressed by the fact that I said that, because I think a lot of people come in and they're quite, you know, they're in despair and they're sort of panicky and worried. I'm like, it's just a phase, it's fine. I was just just blasé about it. Yeah, so I think having that mindset where you think to yourself, it's just a phase, is really, really useful. And the last one is that my happiness lies in what it was that I was called to do. This sounds like a mantra. It is a mantra. When I say my happiness, I mean that like now I'm on maternity leave and I am deciding whether I want to go back to work or not. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do I want to go back to a job that I do enjoy, obviously, but I'm doing something else that I enjoy even more? Like, I'm creating content, I'm making courses, I've got my own business, I'm working from home, like financially making more money than I do at work. Do I go to work because society tells me that I need to have a 9-to-5 job? Or do I do what I am called to do, which I know is educating, I know is creating content, I know that is sharing my knowledge to the world, sharing my knowledge across different continents of the planet, as opposed to just in one classroom? That is where I'm at the moment and what I've learned from this year, and definitely something that I'm going to be taking into next year. Just thinking sort of, what is it that I absolutely love to do and wouldn't even care if I don't get paid to do? That is what I need to do. And that's sort of where my mindset is sort of shifting towards right now. But yeah, I hope this is helpful. I hope this gave you a bit of an insight about like the things I've been thinking about over the past, to be honest, the past like 3 months, but more so the past like 2 years. These are things I've learned this decade so far, and these are things that I'm going to be taking into the new year 100%, and kind of reminding myself all the time about the lessons that I've learned and how to, you know, help myself be a better person overall. Let me know what your #1 lesson is that you learned for 2021, or the #1 thing that you're going to be taking into the new year. I'd love to hear it. I'd love for you to share and for us all to kind of learn together. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.